Hi, Jabet. What makes you excited these days in Dubai? How are you? Nice to
Uh,
see you again.
I am good. Dubai right now, it's very hot. It's summertime until next month.
Wow.
So, but yeah, it's good.
Nice, nice. And it's our pilot episode, and I'm excited to learn from you. You are a veteran property investor, real estate broker, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers and listeners will learn about investments, the basic, and your story as well. So let's get going. So what inspired you the to create Lakshmana?
Actually, Lakshmana was born out of the desire of making Dubai real estate more approachable because people are thinking that Dubai is for an ultra wealthy people, because from outside they are looking at it as posh, very luxury, expensive, and I saw too many buyers overwhelmed or misled, especially for those first time buyers. So I wanted to create a space for them where advice feels like it's coming from a friend, honest, grounded, and practical.
So you've been there for quite some time, more than a decade, right?
Yes, 12 to be exact. So, just to give you a little bit background of my journey in Dubai, back in 2013 February, I started. I was like looking for a greener pasture, and Dubai was one of the place um, that I went to. And then on my first 7 years, I worked in a corporate as a working in admin, business development. And when the COVID hit by 2020, I wanted to go out from my comfort zone. And I decided, okay, let me just try to get into real estate. So the real estate, from there, I started from a Philippine developer, and I am dealing with Filipinos OFWs here, and invests in the Philippines. And latter part, after 2 years working with that developer, I saw the opportunities in Dubai real estate. So I've seen the city evolve. I've grown with it. Also, as an OFW, I started from being a tenant to owning, and now advising other people, especially OFWs, especially Filipinos, to understand the fears. Because as you know, we Filipinos, we are not a risk taker. So I wanted to be an example for them that, hey, as an OFW living here in Dubai, from tenant, we can change our mindset and be a property owner. So, and I understand the fears, excitement, and confusions of first time buyers. So, this journey taught me the importance of being clear on your goals, what is your purpose, and of course, patience in real estate.
That's nice. And I heard the word earlier about grounded, and you how you really started. It's a humbling beginning as well. So what does it mean when people come to you and they receive that grounded advice when it comes to real estate?
So I just wanted to keep it real, no sugar coating, no pushy sales talk, just a friendly advice that help my clients to make decisions based on information, not about the pressure or hype. I want them to assess themselves, because investing in property is not a 1,000 dirhams amount. So my role is to provide them the informations that they need, so that they could decide based on what is their goal, what would be their budget, what would be their purpose on buying a property, either as an end user or as an investor. So I just wanted to be a friend giving an advice. Especially, I am an investor also. I own the property here, so I don't want no sugar coating. Just keep it real.
Yeah, that's really a good advantage for those who will work with you and they would hear real experience about buying. So my question to you is, so what do you focus on first time buyers and smart investors?
I've seen, the reason why I am focusing on the first time buyers and like investors, because they often underserved. I mean, as a first time buyers, you have a lot of questions, and if you are a broker and a real estate agent, you don't expect that your client knows everything. That's the reason why we are here, to guide them, to give them the right information. As a first time buyers needs someone they can trust, and whenever you are giving information, they are relying to you. And a smart investor, on the other hand, needs someone who understand the long-term value, not just flashy listings or a hype on the return of investment and etc.
That's so true. And it's very challenging to find somebody who really like knows the market. I'm sure your clients are very lucky to have you because I see that you're always on top of everything, like what's hot, what's not. So what's the biggest misconception about buying property in Dubai?
I think the biggest misconception is Dubai properties is only for the ultra wealthy people. Like, if you're a millionaire, buy properties in Dubai. But the truth is, there are smart entry points, even with modest budgets. You just need the right guidance. Um, people can start investing from a studio up to 10 bedroom villas. But again, you need a proper guidance from someone who is in the market. Like, as a broker, my role is to give you that guidance. So that one is an ultra wealthy. Second is the financing. Did you know that aside from being a resident, aside from buying cash, a non-resident or people who lives outside Dubai, they can get a home loan or mortgage in Dubai. Not every country will provide that kind of service. So let's say you're from the Philippines, you never visited Dubai, but you have a money to invest, wanted to put in different baskets, and your money is not enough to pay the full cash. As a Philippine citizen, Filipino resident, citizen, you could ask bank from Dubai to give you 50% loan for your property. So those things, like financials wise. Um, Third is Dubai is very expensive. So that's one of the misconceptions about Dubai. Believe it or not, we are almost 800,000 OFWs or Filipinos working in the UAE alone. So if it is expensive country or city, I doubt Filipinos will come here, work, and stay here for longer time. So it's just a matter of getting the right opportunities, managing your finances, saving for yourself, and investing in other forms.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but can you be a resident as well if you, let's say, buy a property? Or are there like requirements? Let's say if somebody's living not just in Philippines, like is it like different for every nationality? Or is it like there's a standard requirement?
For a foreign property investor, we do have this visa reform. Even if you are outside the country but you own a property here, you can get your golden visa, which is 10 years tenure, 10-year visa, I mean, as long as you have at least 2 million dirhams worth of property. Second is, if your property is more than 1 million, you could get 5 years visa and your age is around 55 years old and above. So, we are calling it as a retirement visa for those property investors. And if your property is below 1 million dirhams, you could get 2 years property investor visa, and you can come visit Dubai with that residency. We don't have citizenship here, but it's renewable. As long as you still have that property, it can be renewed after 2 years, after 5 years, and after 10 years. And it's for everyone, by the way. There's no such thing as, okay, just for Filipinos, just for European. All nationalities are welcome to invest in Dubai and get that privilege of getting a residency.
I see. So it's not about the citizenship, but about the residency for that privilege. Okay, got it. I learned something today. That's very interesting. And so, what is your advice to someone who's just starting, looking into properties in Dubai?
First, start with clarity. In buying a property, the first thing that you need to understand is to know your budget. If you are capable to buy this kind of investment, the purpose, either you are an end user or for an investment, like for a passive income. Um, and third is choose the area, not only the building or the unit, the area. In real estate, location is the most important factor that we need to consider. So know your budget, know your purpose, and be picky on the locations. And let the lifestyle and the investment match your goals.
So, do you have like your top three in mind in case somebody's listening right now or watching us?
Yeah, again, it depends on what would be the budget. If I do have a client and they have a budget of below 1 million dirhams and they wanted for an investment, this means that they're not going to use it for themselves. They're just going to rent it out for a long-term lease, a 1-year lease, or short-term lease via Airbnb. I am redirecting them to advising them to buy one studio or one bedroom in Maidan area. It's nearby the downtown or Business Bay area. They could get somewhere from Arjan in Sport City, and an investment to going to the Dubai South area and Dubai Land. Because right now, if we're gonna look at the geographic of Dubai, the main, which is nearby the airport, is already stable. It's already a stable market, like in downtown Business Bay, some waterfront areas like Dubai Marina, JBR, Palm. So now this locations is already stable. So you as a new investor, you cannot leverage or maximize your capital appreciations on that area. So what you need to do is to look for an allocations or area that is um, for development. You know, so from that point of view, you will get you will not get the higher rental yield, of course, because it's a developing area, but you will be sure that you will get your maximized capital appreciation. So, and if I have a buyer who has this much of budget and they wanted for investment, I am advising them to buy villas or townhouses in the waterfront areas.
So a lot of options and depends on your purpose, right? And your budget as well. Um now when it comes to you've been there for quite a while and you see like how has Dubai market change for expats in the recent years? Let's say for the last 5 years.
Massively, there's massive change of Dubai market for the last 5 years with visa reforms, freehold expanding. Freehold means it's a lifetime ownership, even if you are a foreigner. I believe in the Philippines, as a foreigner, you cannot own a property like house and lot, land, unless you have a company. You can only own a condominium, or what we call, condominiums in the Philippines. But here, irregardless if it is condominium, apartments, flats, villas, townhouses, you have this freehold ownership, which is lifetime, and you could give it to your next generations. And also more flexibility when it comes to payment plans. I believe in the Philippines, when you buy a property that is pre-selling, we call it pre-selling, those projects that are launched and under constructions. In our term here, it's off-plan properties. Basically, here in Dubai, we need at least 20% down payment as an initial, and I believe in the Philippines it's a bit, lesser, like, and that, let's say, 10% or 15%, and it is for 4 years, 3 years. But here, the payment plans has become more flexible. They have this 1% monthly payment plans. And also the infrastructures right now, the expansions of metro stations, and launching of new metro stations to link with other locations of in Dubai.
Wow, amazing, amazing. So, like I'm sure you've handled different properties. Now, my question to you is, so what are your top three tips for negotiating with luxury deals, like for luxury properties? So you mentioned earlier with townhouses and villas. Can you expand that more?
First, know the market value, and not the listing type. So, market value, depends on, first, the locations, what is the property status or conditions, if it is renovated. And but the main thing is the location, so it dictates what would be the market value of the property. um Second is building relationship with the seller, and of course, with if he has his exclusive agents. So from that point of view, you're building a long-term relationship with the seller, and your buyer also would understand that, oh, okay, this seller, so your buyer would have a good relationship as well with the seller. Third, show you are serious. Be ready with, documents and proof of funds, especially for those luxuries, villas and properties. We don't want to waste time, energy, and effort, right? So if a buyer comes to me, the first thing that I will ask him is the proof of funds, because time is money, and we don't want to waste everybody's time, like each party's time. So that's the third thing. And you need to do your due diligence, verifying the status of the property when it comes to the ownership, to understand also the full costs of the property, not just the sale price. Because some of the luxury villas, they renovated it, expanded it. Initially, there is no swimming pool. They converted it with swimming pool. So you need to understand the history of that property.
This one, it just came to my mind. Do you have an idea, like how many years, let's say, if you buy that kind of luxury property, like years in ROI for someone is who is into renting it out?
Sa safe side, 6% is a good ROI. Believe me or not, during the back in 2023, some of the seller or owners of the property appreciated their luxury villas and apartments times three. The thing is, they bought this property during the COVID time, and they took that chance.
So
That,
what
okay,
year
let me
was that? Like 2020, 2020?
2020, and they kept it for 3 to 4 years, and then after 4 years they have times three worth of their property. But now, given its current situations, uh, to be realistic, at least 10 years, like six minimum, 6% minimum, up to 10%, annually, it's a good ROI already.
And so how do you help clients avoid the common buying pitfalls? I'm sure you've encountered a lot, but you could like mention three, maximum of five for our viewers and listeners.
I think you just need to do your research. You know, due diligence. I mean, of course, as a broker, our job is to provide you information. But as an investor or as a buyer, you need to do your research as well. I mean, we need to be a teamwork. You know, I could provide you the factual informations about the market, what's happening in that building or the property, and etc. But you need to do your due diligence. I'm here to advise. I will not be the one who will decide at the end of the day. You know, when you are venturing into an investment, it's better for you to do your due diligence.
So how do you with now we're talking about clients. So how do you build trust with new clients?
Being I think it's being authentic or transparent from day one. I mean, I tell the clients what are the pros and cons of buying this property. I mean, that's how you will build the trust and the relationship with your client. It's not all about the beauty of the property, right? Yes, at the end of the day, I need sale. I mean, you know, I need to close deal to get my commission. But it is my value to provide a proper information and be transparent from day one. So and yeah, and from there, you know, they will trust you. And even if for me, I don't burn bridges, even if the buyer will not buy from me after all the efforts that I've done, it's okay. But as long as I provided the good service, these people will come back to you anyway, you know. So I believe on that kind of uh, karma, you know, a good karma.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Thank you for that. What makes Lakshmana experience different from other agencies?
Uh, it's personal. Like, I mean, Gibet, I was like looking at it like Gibet, she's your broker. So it's very personal. So the same way that when I bought my property, I uh, work harder and look at it. It's very personal way. It's the same way to my client. I wanted to provide a service that is very personal. I just my buyer or my clients, they are not just a lead, you know. They I can be their partner in the process, who will educate them, not just to sell them and get the commissions. And my focus is a long term relationship, not just a transactional, you know, not just for one deal. I wanted to have the long term relationship with my client.
I'm sure the pressure is also prevalent, like especially in your industry. So how do you stay grounded in a high pressure market?
You know, when you are in real estate, it's very unstable. Like, I mean, because the income is not stable, it's not fixed. You are being paid based on your performance. If you do have a client, well and good, you will have an income. If you don't have a client, you just need to, you know, remembering my purpose. Whenever I'm not closing deal, like in a month, for example, my option is not giving up. I wanted to continue and just remembering why I'm doing it, you know, why I fell in love with the industry. I don't chase every deal. Of course, I need money, we need commissions, but I wanted to make it a smooth process. That's why I don't chase every deal. I don't want the buyer will look at me that I am desperate to close a deal, because it will be you will be realigned to your purpose if you are more focusing on closing deal instead of focusing what is the right for your client. And you just need to be keep yourself focused and be consistent. I mean, I have a friend of mine told me that you just need to be consistent. Who'll never know, like maybe one day when you are using the elevator, you will meet the ultra wealthy man and buy penthouses, full buildings, you know. But you just need to really continue doing it and be consistent.
Yeah, I like your mindset that everything else, there's this what you call an alignment, right? To people you talk to, and you would know, right? It's sometimes it's unexplainable. You would know that this is the right client, or maybe I need to uh make more time, or pause. So I like that mindset, and that's the reason why I could see that you are also thriving despite the challenges. Some days may not be that good, but yeah, pressing on with that. So uh I'm sure you've talked to a lot of clients. So what questions do you wish more buyers would ask from you or from agents that they talk to?
Aside from the process and the cost, I wanted them to ask me what is my exit plan. Okay, because this is an investment. I mean, when you are investing, you have in your mind, it's not forever. Like, I mean, you wanted to have your exit plan. So if my buyer will ask me, Jibet, what would be my exit plan? I will be happy to answer them. You know, because if you are a genuine broker, you will not put your client or force or advise your client to buy a property that they don't have an exit plan. So let's say for example, if you're an off plan, if I have a client who's going to buy off plan properties, I won't tell them that, oh, okay, buy an off plan now and maybe after 2 years we can resell it before the handover. That's not an exit plan. It could be part of the plan, but the exit plan would be, take the property, hand over to you, and we can resell it when it's ready. Because the market for a secondary would be higher because it's a secondary, it's ready units, right? So or if I'm gonna, let's say for Filipinos, if I'm gonna buy now, I'm gonna use it for personal, and I wanted to go back in the Philippines, what shall I do in the property? You could still keep it. You could rent it out for long term or even short term. I could help you on that, getting your client, or you could resell it. As a Filipinos, it's a building equity asset. And instead of you renting, this property is your ownership. So that could be your exit plan. And another questions, it could be, is this the right time for me personally? Because it will test you, it will test you as a broker just to get a sale. Like, is it the right time for me to buy property? I was like, say, if I just wanted the commission, I was just like, yeah, yeah, it's the right time for you to buy. But again, you need to assess. You need to assess your client. Is he really ready to finance this property? Is he has this enough money to go through in this property investment journey? And third would be, is this a good market? Is the market good? Like everything, like even not only here in Dubai, I think even in the other countries, they experience ups and a bit of down. Um, if the market is always like that, oh my God, you need to question the broker. Like if the broker is saying, no, 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 the market is going up and up. So I mean, it's the time. The timing should match the client, not just the trend.
I love that. Those are very smart questions. And the thing is that sometimes like even with off plan, if you don't have an exit plan, like, you're rushing things like, oh, what should I do? And then you panic. You've already exerted much of the efforts, the energy and resources. So those are very good questions. Another question to you, because I'm learning a lot. So how does Lakshmana use feedback to improve client experience?
So I've been doing this as a broker. I'm a broker for the last 2.5 years. Okay. um I get a positive feedback, which is very good, like, but also I get the not so good feedback that it will help me to improve the way I communicate, during my first year, I remember that, because you still have that fear, and you don't have that much of knowledge when it comes to the market, because I'm new, but I've learned from that. I listen to my client that whenever you go for a viewing, you need to do your homework, study the buildings, know the community, be careful when it comes to giving information. So I use that feedback to improve, and be better broker. And I could say that with the experience that I had right now, I'm very thankful that most of my clients from my first year, they referred buyers to me. And it's already a good testimony or testimonials that I was a good broker to them back then. So also every testimonials, every concern is a lesson. We are consistently learning, refining how are we going to communicate with our clients, know their purpose, know their requirement first before giving informations. So yeah, we just got that. I'm just getting that feedback as a lesson.
So how do you help clients feel at home before and after buying from you? I'm sure you've built relationship with them. So what is that? How can they feel at home with you?
Whenever I have a client, the first thing that I do is to meet them, to know them, because you need to know your client first. I mean, not about the requirement and etc., but you just really need to know your client, profile your client, right? So that you could provide them the right product, the right property. So that's the first thing that I am doing. I'm meeting them just to profile them. Second is when I discuss with them the process and etc., I let them process on their own, and then I will just ask them later on if what kind of property they want, which locations they like, and etc. And from there, I walk throughs with them, like if they like a community, I remember I have this Filipino family. They were my first Filipino buyer, by the way, and their purpose is to have a townhouse as an end user. So what I did is I visited their house, explained their process, profiled them and explained the process. And later on, I told them, let's have one day, let's go to these communities, these family gated communities, and let your children, because at the end of the day, they are considering their children's perspective when it comes to the community, right? So I told them, I suggested that let's have one day, let's go to this one, two, three, four communities, and let me know which community that resonates in you, you know, especially with your children. And then yeah, for one day, we did that, and then later on they told me, Jibet, we wanted on this community because my children loves the community. It helps me as a broker as well to narrow down the locations for them, what type of the property they need. It's um l- how to say that, it's we are not wasting time. And also, I wanted my buyer or client feel that I will be with them after the handover as well. So post handover support is very important. It's beyond the transaction, because as a broker, my transaction isn't only when it's handed over, but after handover, like making sure that they are settled in the community, it's beyond the transaction. So, and also even the small things like moving tips, furnishing contacts, or maintenance contacts, it will make a difference to the client.
That's true because sometimes there are brokers that after the sale, that's it. right? Like you're on your own. And the best thing about working with you is there's the post service, the post Lakshmana experience. We will have more conversations like this, but for now, what is your final message to our viewers and listeners, and where they can find you?
My final message, like just a advice to those people who wanted to buy property here, and especially for Filipinos, and of course other nationalities as well, who lives in Dubai for longer years, especially like 5 years and above. Dubai is giving us a lot of opportunities, and we need to leverage these opportunities. And buying property would be a wise options for us. uh, when you are buying a property, you just need to make sure that you have a clear goals, you know your budget, you know your purpose, you know what would be your exit plan when you end your work contract ended here. What would be your exit plan? Look for someone like a real estate professionals that who will guide you from A to Z and be transparent with you, um, and help you and really guide you, narrow down the process with you, walk with you on your property investment journey. Don't be afraid. I mean, I think most of the people, one of the reasons why they stop considering buying a properties, because they have the fear, because they have the fear like, I'm not a resident here. What if I lose my job? The question is, what if you have your job for the next 20 years? Your fear, you need to, and if you're capable of buying property, you need to remove that fear. And I will be here to support you. I have this, you can contact me. I will ask Chrisette to put my email address and also mobile number. You could reach me directly. I'm not charging any fees, it's all for free. Whatever questions that you want to ask, even if you're not yet ready and you wanted an information, to make yourself ready maybe in the next 2 to 3 years, I will be willing to help you.
What's your
So
Instagram?
yeah, it's at Luxmana. It's Luxemana. My personal is I am gbeth _Filipino. And also Facebook, just search my name. I think I have a very unique name. We are only like four gbeth in Facebook. Just
Till next time for our next episode. So
thank you so much.